Welcome to Info Live TV. We are here at our Jerusalem studio with Jerrold Kessel to discuss current affairs. First up, Jerrold, what can you tell me about the Israeli operations in the Gaza Strip? What can Israel do to stop the continuing Kassam fire?
Well, as Prime Minister Olmert said this week, there are no easy solutions. Boy, that's the understatement of the year. Even though people say send the army in and you can root out the Kassam rocket firing, the only thing that Israel perhaps should do more of, as it is doing, is underline the legitimacy of the defense of its border, which in fact is what it's doing, and any operations that are undertaken are in defense of a recognized international border, as it were, between Israel and Gaza.
If the border with Gaza were to be recognized internationally and receive legitimacy, how would that, on the ground, effectively stop Hamas and other organizations from firing Kassam rockets?
I don't know if it effectively stops them, but it does underline and give Israel a benchmark from which to operate in its defensive capacity of defending an internationally recognized, legitimate and guaranteed border. That is the way to go for Israel to search for what it has always searched for, security along its borders.
Let's make a comparison with Lebanon. The Israel-Lebanese border is recognized by the United Nations, by the international community, and yet last summer Hezbollah staged an incursion which sparked the Second Lebanon War. What are your thoughts on the matter?
Well, exactly the result, that war was a war for a border, for the legitimacy, the sacrosanct nature of a legitimate border that was internationally recognized. That's what Israel basically went to war about. The war might have been skewed after that through an attempt to undermine and eradicate Hezbollah. But basically what the war was at the outset was a war for the legitimacy of that border, and a border that had been violated by Hezbollah. The outcome of the war was such that Israel gained, in my opinion, an enormous amount with the passing of the Security Council Resolution 1701, which not only recognized and established the sacrosanct nature of that border between Israel and Lebanon, but established a international presence on the other side of the border to stop Hezbollah, in as far as possible, violating that border. This then underwrites Israel's defense policy of trying to ensure the security of its legitimate borders, internationally recognized borders. On the basis of that, no one can find fault if Israel has to undertake actions that are in defense of that border. And that's precisely the situation we're in, which is why I say that those who see the outcome of the war as a total failure are absolutely wrong, that the war achieved some of the basic objectives from which the Israeli government went to war on, that is, to establish the sacrosanct nature of that legitimate, internationally recognized border. And it's now been established that the international community is there to guarantee that the security of that border.
Would you say such a model of some sort of international force, would that model be applicable to the Gaza Strip?
Well, not exactly applicable, but certainly there is new thinking, I think, in Israel that the idea of an international force is not, as it was in the past, something taboo on the other side of the border, as an important ingredient in trying to guarantee Israel's security along its border and the security of those borders. There is definite thinking in that direction in Israel, both along in the first phase along the Egypt Gaza border to stop the smuggling of arms into Gaza, which has only strengthened Hamas. But beyond that, there is now the thinking that perhaps an international presence can do a good deal to, in addition to what Israel needs to do to defend its own borders, to shore up the security of that border. There is the beginning of that thinking, yes.
When facing ideologically motivated foes such as Hezbollah and Hamas, do you really think that internationally recognized and legitimate borders make a difference to these organizations?
Well, maybe not. Maybe they will violate them, but then they will stand in violation of those borders, and Israel will have not just the right, but the duty of self-defense and of protecting those borders and of ensuring the security of those borders. That's a very different call from when the international community would come down on Israel, of Israel engaging in the defense of those borders. So it is a critical element in the array that Israel has to build up in order to try to ensure the security of its borders.
Thank you very much, Jerrold Kessel.
Pleasure.